Welcome to Do It Live. I'm your host, Adrian, season 5 non-graduate, but I'm really keen on getting the autonomy launch for my projects this season. And with me is Stefano, who will be our co-host, is awesome. And today we'll talk about our favorite highlights from this past week. And later on, we'll have some special guests, Michael Nimitz, some others. And we're going to take a little look at projects from people doing their projects and posting them on Autonomy Forum. And first, I'd like you to meet Stefano, since he started season 8, is going to share with you some of the things that he has going and what's been going on with him this week.
Hi, yeah, so my name is Stefano. I've been listening to Richard Grove and his universe for about 10 years. And I joined Autonomy this season to check out what it's all about. And I gotta say that the lectures are super interesting. I know a little bit of the material because I've been listening to it for the last 10 years. But last night's lecture has been outstanding. And these lectures also allow me to dive in farther into the material than I used to when I was listening to the Tragedy and Hope podcast more passively. I'm digging the energy. The guys here are better than some of the other freedom communities that I've been a part of. They're a lot more action-oriented, which is cool. So, I suggest something or somebody suggests something and everybody sort of jumps on and tries to help out, which is amazing. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, Stefano, what do you mean by action-oriented? Because a lot of this is just internet and encouragement and interviews. What do you mean by action-oriented?
Well, to begin with, exactly what you said, we do these integration interviews, and the integration interviews are great because we get to meet the people. We have a certain amount of time. They're not long, drawn-out interviews. It sort of also forces us to meet each other, which is something that I tried to do often with a lot of people in the freedom community, and they seem to be a little bit more text-friendly and less sort of face-to-face meeting-friendly, which has been a difficult hump for me to get over because living in Canada, I didn't get to see a lot of the people out here. So it was always, short exchanges of text, 3 or 4 exchanges, and then that was it. At least now I can joke and talk and do that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. So how many interviews have you had?
I started last week. I started late. So I was here for week 2 Friday, and since I've had about 8 interviews. 6 interviews.
6 interviews. That's quite a few. I know you have. I know you're doing some other things. That's mine too. I have a couple other things that I work on during the week, and autonomy is one of them. This season I dedicated 2 hours a day, and that's total. So this week has been filled mostly after Wednesday with getting to do it live. Anybody else want to talk about their interview pattern or how they manage to work in the interviews?
I just got done with an interview with Itai, and he's a season 8 student. And it's very funny because that might have been my best interview yet. So I'm really glad to be getting to know more of the season 8 students in particular.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm having a great experience this season so far.
All right. Anything anybody's picked up on hints for when they're interviewing people? Okay. Well, one of the things.
Well, actually, yeah. Go on.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Stefan.
One of the things that I noticed, I think I got it around the 4th or 5th interview I did. was the actual structure. I know it was listed on the Kajabi, but I guess I must have glanced over it or gone through it a bit quickly. I didn't realize. I realized that there was like an interview and being interviewed, so you're playing both sides of it. But I didn't know that there was also a structure to the questions. I thought we could sort of go navigate a little bit everywhere.
It depends on what your point is. A lot of times, I've done probably 50 or 60 since I started in 5, and a lot of the autonomy students that are back have already talked about their projects and need something else, kind of like what I did. I needed a structure to launch again. I took some time off and then found myself just waiting for season 8 to start, because I know it gets me in the groove and it helps set the pattern again for what I was doing. So interviews are that way. Anybody else new to doing interviews online here that want to share their experience with us of doing them? All right, take a few minutes here. That's one thing. I'm not tremendously afraid of silence in a group. So you just want to keep, listening and thinking. That's fine with me. You know, I ask questions of groups of people almost every week and have them go, I don't know. Or they ask me a question and I say, I don't know. So, but that's the interview process, and we keep on that for a number of weeks, and we change some of the direction of it. Has anybody come up with a interesting question that they always ask their interviewee, so that they can get something more than just the straight sheet exercise?
I'll speak up.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
So one of the questions that I like to ask, it popped in one time with one of the interviews I was doing, and I asked them to envision their future self, to go into the future and ask their future self, what does their life look like? What are they doing? And what steps did they take to get there?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's forward-looking. I often ask, what action have you taken since you've joined Autonomy, to get them to think about the action that they have taken and hopefully do it some more. In fact, that was what I finished up with Stefano, and then challenged him to do some things, because he said, well, I need some actions to do. And I said, well, here are some. Yep. And so that's at least how I've learned to do it from season 5, to get to agreement on action. That's what I learned, seasons ago.
So now that you are your future self from season 5, if you could go back in time, what would you tell your past self to do differently, if anything at all?
Actually, I would say step out of your current position earlier, when you first feel that it's not working.
Beautiful.
And then I would have started at season 7 or to finish up. But it takes some time sometimes to realize that your circumstances are certainly under your control, but maybe you don't feel it's the right time. I do believe there's right timing for everything. I don't regret the 2 years that I spent in getting things ready to step out of that position. So I don't feel like it's necessary. I look back and I said, what about when you stepped out of your position should you have done? I said I should have contacted Richard or Joshua and said, hey, I need a coach for the next couple months, so that I would be ready to go instead of waiting on a season. Anybody else? Because the interviews are a great way to learn from different perspectives.
I'll jump in. So I'm not new to interviews, but it's certainly one of my favorite things about participating in Autonomy is the new wave of people who come in each season, and then we get to meet a whole new bunch of fascinating people with amazing stories and life adventures that they've been on. And it's amazing to see the different paths that people take to wind up in the same place here in Autonomy. And each time, what I'm finding when I repeat more and more interviews, one piece of advice I have for interviews is to say up front, decide how you're going to run it. Is it going to be the formal 30 minutes each and switch places halfway through and work through the questions? Or do you both prefer to have more of a meandering, getting to know you, we just met at a cocktail party type conversation? So it's nice to just decide that, because people have different needs. Some people, they want to run the formal process because they might be practicing or training for a job or a more professional role, coaching, consulting, sales, that kind of thing. Other people, they might be coming in and they're just looking to make the connection and to be kind of welcomed and to build up that trust moving forward. So that's one piece of advice I have.
Asking permission is what I usually call it. That's kind of a formal counseling way to do it. We're here to do this thing. Which do you want to do? How do you want to go about it? That's a good thought to put, because most people come into Autonomy and maybe they haven't done those things before or even done any kind of interviewing. So great. Thanks, Nick. Right.
And then just one quick thing that I'll add as well is the more that I do the interviews and the more people I connect with, the faster, the better I get, and the faster I find it that I can connect and find the overlapping area of interest or experience. That's one of the benefits of repeating it many times, is to be able to build that rapport and find that point where you share something in common that you can then build the rapport and the relationship from, which is another important skill to be able to get there quickly. Because with some people, if you don't get there quickly and find that thing that you both share, they might lose interest. Not so much here in Autonomy, because we're all here and we have lots in common already, but outside of Autonomy, you might, what did somebody refer to it, in Gen Pop, you might only get a short amount of time before before they turn away or write you off or pull their phone out of their pocket or something. So being able to find that thread of commonality and interest quickly, that's another great thing that comes from doing this exercise. Absolutely.
And Nick, you're a great example of active listening, even like on a Zoom, even on one of the Do It Lives. I can see your face, and you're speaking up and you're agreeing or coming in with great comments. That's the other thing about the interview process. If you haven't read the active listening sheets, go through that a couple times and maybe do it formally with somebody. Say, I really want to practice this thing, because the more you're able to tune in while somebody else is talking, and not putting what you're thinking next, the better the interview will go. That's for certain. Anybody else on interviews this week? Well, one of my guests.
I got one real quick for you. I always ask people what they think is holding them back.
Yes.
Probably 2/3 through the conversation.
Yes.
Because a lot of times people do know, and then I'm going to compare that to what they've told me so far, because I probably already have my ideas and observations from what they've said, little tips that they drop, negative self-talk, these sort of things. But sometimes they know, and then it's an easy place to meet and work on that. And sometimes they don't know, and they think it's something else. And you're like, that's probably not it. It's this other thing. And then you have a deeper discussion. So It's a great question to throw out there just to see if they're self-aware of maybe undermining their own actions and procrastination and these sort of things.
Yeah, but sometimes they're holding back, just as an observation, because they don't have the right time. Doing the Do It Live, I had a couple dates in mind, and I got the secondary date that I wanted, but what's holding you back from doing it? Well, I had a lot of things planned for this week. Too bad. You're doing it live. So sometimes you're aware and sometimes you're not. Thank you, Richard. Anybody else?
Yeah, Adrian, morning. Well, good evening, maybe for you. But I did find the interviews at first, I found it quite challenging because it was because of the structure, and I just preferred to throw the script away and to just have a free-flowing conversation with someone, just connect with someone, right?
Sure.
But then I realized, I'm a student here. I'm here to learn, and there might be some method to the madness, and so I kind of went back to the script, and I did modify it a little bit,
Sure.
but I did find that what Nick was saying, the more you do them, the more natural you become, and as a result, now I take it in my daily life, and I just speak to people, and it's amazing how things have changed. I mean, I don't know if it's just the interviews, that ability to speak to people and hear what people, what they're saying and addressing that, but maybe it's the whole autonomy thing, people, the whole experience rubbing off on me. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey so far in just 3 weeks. So yeah, the interviews are great, and I'm looking forward to improving that this week as well, because there's another, we have to do another 10, right?
Well, do as many as you like. Why stop at 10?
I mean, here's the gist. Let me illuminate it a little bit for you guys.
Thank you.
That format of that conversation is what you need to do to get a job, to do a discovery call with a new client, to meet a new person, to meet a new neighbor. It's initiate contact, build rapport, and then see if there's some common substance or meaning that you guys can work on together. If you have a problem and don't have a solution, and I have a solution, but I don't have the problem, maybe we should talk about that and we can help each other out. So that's a later layering of it. But the basic structure is how to meet and greet people in any type of professional situation. And you get down to, hey, we're going to have this meeting. I need to find out a little bit about what's going on. And it could be a marketing call. It could be a medical discovery call. It's the same thing. A doctor is going to go through the same process with a client on a virtual call. So it's really giving you guys these keys to enter into these situations. So it's not just, hey, I want to know about this thing, so I'm going to go interview this person. It's, I want to go find out if I can get a job at this place. Let me go talk to someone who works there and take them out to lunch. And you're going to use a format like that. And if you meander and do it ad hoc every time, you will never get consistent results, which is what society needs from you. If you have diminishing returns, you'll quit on yourself. But if you have a method, and that method works 7 or 8 times out of 10 for success and moving forward, then you're going to abandon ad hoc thinking and say, well, I can't get into problem solving until I contact and build rapport. People don't like that. If you are a doctor and you just walk up on the street and you tell somebody, hey, I think you have this ailment, here's some prescription, they're going to treat you like a Looney Tune. But if you set up that structure the right way, they come to you, they have the discovery call, then it's like the right way, and it's ethical and moral and has integrity. So there's a flow of communication exchange between people who don't know each other yet, and the flow for productivity, for substance, for meaning, for follow-ups, for all the next steps that lie ahead in these goals. You guys have the format, and you don't have to use it all the time, but you should practice that format to get it repetition and have it be like second nature. If Nick's at a coffee shop and he overhears some business people with a problem and he knows a solution, a lot of times people are too introverted to say anything. Hey, fellas, I heard what you're saying. Are you guys still looking for a solution? Because I actually know someone who does that, and I just happen to be here getting a bagel. Maybe this is what's supposed to go on. Maybe we're supposed to talk, right? And they laugh. They're like, actually, we got this. It's a little more complicated. And sit down. Let's talk about it. That's how you get into these situations that otherwise our introversion blinds us to and says, oh, that's for other people to step up and say something or offer help. But if you like the story of the Good Samaritan, then you should go around being able to be prepared to help people out.
Yeah.
And you do that through conversation. And Adrian does that, for his ministry.
Right. And the thing I always tell people is do it with the people around you. The Good Samaritan is not about helping the world. It's helping the person that has the problem in front of you. And that's kind of hard because there's a bit of fear there. What if they reject me? Well, okay, they don't want your help, but at least you've made a connection with them and talked to them in a real way. And that's the idea. I found this. I'm not in the sales position in a job that I have, and I watch the salespeople who haven't had autonomy, who don't know how to just talk with somebody first, to make a connection and do it. They're ready to sell them something. And you'd be surprised at how many times people get turned off by that. Whereas they talk to me and 10 minutes later they say, hey, I'd like to sign up. And I have to say, well, there's a guy over there who can help you do that. So it is making that essential connection that is there. And the script that Richard and Autonomy have developed teaches you how to do that very naturally after a couple 20, 30 times. So very good.
But I also agree with Van that once you understand that format, you make it your own. You don't use my words. Yeah, right. So
you have to, it has to be part of you. Just like at my job. If I didn't like the company, if I didn't believe in their mission statement, I wouldn't work for them anymore. I just say, well, this is not going to work out because it's not what I want to do. And that's the same thing. I had to fire a client earlier, and I learned that from Richard. You could fire clients, and I had to fire a client earlier this summer, and I was very, very sad to do so, but it needed to be done so that I could keep my reputation online. They would have trashed me eventually because it wasn't working out. I had something they didn't really want. They wanted to go through the motions of it, and that wasn't me. All right. Well, thank you all. If there's anybody else who wants to speak up.
I have something. So not only the integration exercises have helped me, but also the videos during the lectures, such as the what do you call it? During the intermission sessions, some of them talk about how to listen more or be a better listener. So I get the great information from that video, and then I apply it to the integration exercises, and then it's like my day is better. But the one thing I wanted to comment on is that I don't come into an interview and ask the same question in every single interview, because I don't want to overwhelm the people that I'm interviewing. So I kind of just want to stick it to the format, and I kind of want them to just focus on the curriculum, and anything besides like in the future, then we can talk that like after the season is done, just personally.
Okay. Yeah, it's focusing on doing autonomy is really important. I found that out in season 7, where I thought I'd just dip in again and then get going, and it doesn't work like that. I still had too much on my plate otherwise. It's really good for the season to just focus on the season, the curriculum, doing the exercises, getting that going. There's a lot of other stuff out there, and today is the day we talk about that other stuff that's out there, that if you want to dip in a little bit. In fact, what we're going to have is a little focus here, Paul, on the mastermind process. I wanted to give you a little time to talk about that. Stefano, we're jumping ahead because Michael's not here. So Paul, if you talk about the mastermind process.
For sure. So I believe it's new to Autonomy this year, but it might not be new to everyone in Autonomy. The whole mastermind group idea is supposed to be like a peer-to-peer mentoring group where you have different members helping to solve their problems with input and advice from other group members. And if you've read Napoleon Hill, Law of Success, or Think and Grow Rich, you might be familiar with the concept of masterminds. It's essentially where 2 or more people are coming together in harmony to think about an idea to solve problems. So essentially, as it'll be happening with Autonomy, You have the leaders who are facilitating the group of between 6 to 10 people is ideal, and each week you have a person who's in the hot seat, or you might have 2 people in the hot seat, but essentially after a check-in between all the members, you have the hot seat person will be talking about the project or the goal that they're trying to achieve and what the challenges that they're encountering, the problems that they're encountering. And then once they've shared that, then one by one, the group goes around and practicing brutal honesty, gives their best advice, and the person in the hot seat is in a more receptive pattern where they say thank you, they receive it all. It's meant to keep them not going into a defensive mode, but accepting the advice. And it might be bad advice. You can disregard it. If it's good advice, you can incorporate it. But it also gives everyone in the group a chance to practice giving advice. And because it's in a structured way, it allows identifying the problems to be very quick. It allows everyone to bring their creative solutions to the table. And a lot of times it gives voice to issues and feelings that people aren't familiar with articulating in the first place. So a lot of times it's very suggestive in allowing people to understand through someone else's experience a way to relate to their own experience and help solve their problems.
Yeah. It is new to this season. I think one of the most interesting features is, were you on the inside of forming these groups, Paul? Were you part of that?
I'm a late addition. However,
Okay.
I have I'm familiar with mastermind groups in general,
Okay.
and have done a couple discussions with some of the mastermind leaders, including Joshua, about how they're structuring it over the next, I guess, 12 weeks. So if your group has 6 members, 6 students, then ideally you would get over 12 weeks a chance to be in the hot seat twice, which would and it allows you to give advice 10 times. And so over the course of those weeks, you can kind of chart your development through whatever goal you're trying to achieve or whatever problem you're trying to overcome, and also get to see how your advice and how you deliver it improves over time.
Okay. What I was thinking of is, rather than setting it up with certain people, you set it up based on times, without the leaders being known and without your fellow students in the group being known. And that is one of the features of, if you're wondering about classical education, you've heard about it but not experienced it. That's one of the features of classical education. I would go into a class, upper level college class or university class or a graduate class, and it'd be called seminar. And you would have to do the research and present and have others question you in the class and have others do that. It was not a study group where we all like each other, so we're going to study these things. It was a little bit oppositional in that you had to prove your point, or you had to do the research and get that up and present it. And I find that just a fascinating another feature that autonomy has incorporated what is a classical education into an online group that teaches you how to be a learner and how to manage your goals and whatever you want to do. Academically, it's always about research and proof and all those kind of ideas. Here in autonomy, it's about real life goals and getting your projects done. So I think it's a great idea. If you haven't signed up for it, check it out. There's still some room, I believe. I haven't checked it today, but there was still some room last night for some of the classes. It's based on time rather than on getting together with the group. So it may be difficult to get in yet for any number of you, but it'd really be, even if you just brought up a mundane problem, something that isn't close to your heart, the first time in the hot seat, you would see how it works, and it will really improve how you get your projects done. It'll improve how you present yourself, and your projects will get some great advice. Point of view and framing the stuff is so important in any educational or business endeavor. It's really, really going to be valuable, Paul. And, you know, to all who are in it, you'll have a great time. So don't just get out now. Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think one of the really great things about it is it facilitates a sort of environment where it's safe to be vulnerable, and the idea of brutal honesty is not just for those offering advice, but for those sitting in the hot seat to really come to terms with whatever thing that they're trying to deal with or identify, because it's not always easy to be honest in front of a bunch of strangers. So the goal of the feedback is to be honest but nurturing, I would say. Right. No one's meant to be mean. No one's meant to be like, well, that's dumb. They're meant to accept the challenge on its face and go like, what is the best solution going forward? And I think the idea is to nurture having everyone's best interest at heart, so that the advice you're giving is heartfelt. It's like trying to use all the various perspectives, the diversity of experiences in your group, because you're going to have people who live in different parts of the world, who are completely different backgrounds, and so they're bringing the uniqueness of their experience to the advice pool that's within this mastermind, and you get to draw from that. And the great thing is, even after Autonomy, the season 8 is complete, the opportunity is there to form your own private masterminds with people and continue that tool or that tradition to, again, further your work. And it's a way of both drawing from and giving back to the group. Very, very powerful and very, very valuable.
In season 5, they were trying to create them and used a different model. And my thing went right to, this is roundtable. I know you've heard it in Tragedy and Hope, but Mastermind is a roundtable discussion with people who care about your problems. All through college, it was a forensic. It was a class project. It was a speech team or something like that. And you would have groups that would form around questions and answer, quote, big problem questions by the same method. And of course, honesty wasn't necessary in those groups, but it's definitely necessary if you're going to actually solve things. So
well, to tie these two things together, what Paul is saying is like this great work happens in the mastermind, but it feels strange doing it in front of strangers. But if you actually do the interviews first, none of these people are strangers anymore. Right. Actually, exactly. You know more about each other in a meaningful, substantial way than most other modalities of life. Yep. So you already have the advantage to go into the meetings, and don't lead with your biggest, closest to your heart issue that's going to be so sensitive. Like, save that for later. Let's just get into the flow. I forgot to take out the garbage this week. What's my solution? Set a reminder. Like those types of things, mundane, right? Start with something mundane and learn the process. And I took a screenshot when I saw Paulie on screen, because I was like, oh man, it's so great that he's here, because Paul was one of the first autonomous people I bumped into in the world. And he came to my apartment and he had all his film equipment and lights and cameras and audio and microphones. And I was like, how do you learn to do this? Did you go to school? He's just like, I taught myself and I'm learning as I go. And I'm like, oh, I could probably do that too. So if you guys like this course, blame Paul. And if you don't like this course, blame Paul, because he taught me to start teaching myself at a higher level and accessing the tools I needed to communicate to the world. Because I wasn't going to go to film school and nobody was going to come and teach me these things. But he came and showed me his self-reliance. He had it all in a hockey bag, right? I pick him up at the airport. He's got this hockey bag. I'm like, what's in there? He's like, all this stuff. And he sets it all up. And that footage stands to this day. It's still good footage. It's very watchable. Thank you, Paulie.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Rich.
Thanks, Paul. And it makes a great lead in, because we're going to look at some of Paul's work, Stefano. He gives us a clip from Plug Your Work, and we're going to watch a little bit of that. It's not a mastermind session, so you don't need to share with him about what the problems are that you see, but rather we wanted to give you this kind of break in the middle of Do It Live to just enjoy some of the things that that are being done. So this is Plug Your Work, and it's Brave Johnson.
Here we go.
Comedy is priceless.
Do you want me to? Oh, okay. I was gonna say, do you want me to set this up? Here we go.
Hey, buddy, take a seat. You look like you need a reading. Well, let's see what the cards have to say. Oh, it looks like death is in your future.
Seattle, 1992. In the midst of a violent crime wave, a sinister force is hooking the most vulnerable on junk and creating catastrophe throughout the city. When the gangsters run things and own the lawmakers, who can stop them? One single cop. Struggling with a mysterious past, he'll team up
Hey, the name's Vera.
with some unlikely allies
Have you ever heard about the tarot?
to unravel a monumental conspiracy and take the fight to the bad guys. When they can't take anything more from you. And you have to put it all on the line. You've gotta be brave. 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 Brave Johnson. Summer 2023.
Wow.
All right, looking forward to that, Paul.
All right, so now what's the setup? We did it live. We just played it. So what's the setup for what we just thought, Paulie?
That's you just basically met my whole family. That's who's in that trailer. My son Austin is Brave Johnson. I am the announcer voice guy. Seattle, 1992. And my daughter Ashni was Vera, the tarot assassin. My wife Ria was the other sniper woman who's a bad guy. And yeah, my brother-in-law let us use his Corvette for some drone scenes. It's essentially just a family project it started out getting together during COVID because many of us were out of work against our own wishes. And what are you going to do but work on a family project together? So we came up with this tongue-in-cheek, silly throwback to the 90s that was meant to be a conspiracy thriller, but with a ridiculous amount of action that we could shoot mostly in our living room on green screen. And you don't get a lot of taste of the dialogue in it because it's a lot of soliloquies about the fall of the Soviet Union, and there's a whole component there that I think the Autonomy group would really appreciate in terms of storytelling. It's not conveyed in the trailer, but we were trying to put together something that just shows all the flashbang action for our $100 budget. But that's what you can produce for $100 if you order a green screen from Amazon, like a nice big 12 by 15, and then just use Premiere and you can key it all out and throw in all kinds of backgrounds. So anyways, it's a family project. We're doing a little Kickstarter. Whether we raise the Kickstarter or not, we're planning to shoot just after Christmas, and try and release for the summer. So
That'd be great. I mean, what else can you do? I mean, I ended up watching a lot of Richard Grove during the time. I didn't have that family project, so I'm glad you have the skills for that and are sharing it with us. And
I've got one question. I want to know where you got the plates. Did you film the background plates, or did you find them in places? Because some of them are really weird.
yeah, that's a great question. So right when I met Rich for the first time in like 2006 is the same year I learned compositing, and this is a great resource for anyone who ever wants to use royalty-free footage and combine it with their footage to do a little remix. Pexels.com. Like, there's a lot of great royalty-free sites that you have to pay money for, but if you only have $100 budget, then going to Pexels.com, Pexels.com. A lot of the footage is from people in other parts of the world that are not North America. Shot in Russia, in Africa, in all kinds of places. You can donate per piece, which is what I prefer to do, or you can volunteer to pay for a subscription, but there's an enormous wealth of good background plate footage. So yeah, Pexels.com, incorporate that in, fiddle with the color values, and you've got something that you can blend together, make really cool.
so,
Yeah, you guys take it for granted that you can just green screen and composite your Zoom calls. Like, you're all soft. Like, Paul and I had this software. We had to pay $1,000, or he paid $1,000. One of us paid $1,000, and then we both used it. And then it would take hours and hours and hours, and then you'd find out the composite's not right, and then you'd have to change it. And it would take like a week to get something. And when we did What You've Been Missing in 2011, that was all green screen. And I swore afterwards, I'm like, I'm not doing green screen stuff again. This compositing software sucks. But Paul stuck at it, and now he makes it all look easy. But it started with him in a V for Vendetta mask doing Christopher Walken impressions once upon a time.
That's right. That's true.
well,
No, it was a long time ago. The green screen technology has gotten way better. So yeah, the tools, like, there's now, you can get free editing software like DaVinci Resolve. There's a lot of the tools that we either had to pay big money for or find under dubious circumstances. It has now either become slightly more affordable or a free version of that, almost like Open Office to Microsoft Office. There's a lot of tools out there. You just have to search for them. And I think that's part of the community, is sharing those different high value but low cost tools so that people can just work at the speed of thought.
Oh, better than the speed of science. So that's great. That's great. And I challenged Stefano to make an offer this week too. And he did one on Plug Your Work. And tell us about the complications of that, Stefano. What did it take for you to do that?
The complications of that. Well, you sent out the challenge, and I was like, all right, no problem. And I mulled it over for a couple of days because I wanted to set up something specifically for autonomy. And after a little bit of time and realizing that I'm going to be spending a lot of energy to try to put this together for autonomy, it'll happen, I think, at some point. I probably should just do it live and write something down. And I put together a little offer to help anybody with training them as far as video editing is concerned, or giving them advice or anything along those lines. And you asked me to put a price on it. It depends on the project, depends on what we discussed, and how I can help you guys realize your projects. So.
Right. And I think
that's pretty
one of the
synchronistic. Wait, am I understanding you can edit video, Sisyphus?
Yes, I can. I've been a video editor for the last 20 years, and I've worked with a couple of small production companies in Washington, D.C., and here
And
in
you're
Montreal.
you're in Canada. You're in Canada,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Are you hearing this, Paul? He might not be able to unmute.
Okay.
But Paul works at Vancouver Studios, and he knows a little bit about video editing. I think it's synchronicitous that you guys are both on this call right now. Maybe this is why Adrian and the rest of us are here, so you guys can like have a convo in the future about video editing. Have your own empire is what I'm saying.
Right on, right on. I hear you.
That's like 40 years experience between two guys right there. Boom.
Yep.
Yep.
Smashing atoms. It's like a super collider in here. Go ahead.
Well, the thing was that Stefano said he was a dove, and in the midst of our, finally when we were doing the interview, we put I put the question, what's getting in the way, or what do you want to do, or those kind of things. What do you have to offer? And then the big challenge was not that he would help people out, but that he would put a price on it. Because
Right.
I'm a dove too. I'm a professional dove for 30 plus years, and putting a price on it has always been difficult for me. And so seeing that, and that's what I've been working on the last couple months, is putting a price on my time, putting a price on what I have to offer. That's what I gave him. And so is that essentially one of the things that you had to overcome, putting a price on it, or was that easy?
Well, I sort of sneaked around that particular issue. I left it open. There is no price, I can hide behind the idea that every video project is different and whatever I'm doing might be different. So that's how I put the price on there. It'll be paid. It's just don't have a price.
Then it's invaluable.
Oh.
No, that means it's so valuable that nobody
Okay,
can
yes,
touch
yeah,
it.
I'm sorry. I missed that. Yeah.
I didn't mean that it
No,
was
I
not
gotcha.
valuable.
I gotcha. I
It's
misinterpreted
way too
the word.
high for me to put a price. That's good.
There you go.
All right. Well, that's kind of what we had planned for the interviews and the showing of stuff. What we'd like to do is go on to show a couple slides that I picked out from season 8. And if you'll put the first one up, Stefano.
Yeah.
Sorry, I saw Patuli up there. So there you go.
There we go.
This is the part that I missed during the summer. Unwind your mind. Turn off the distractions. Organize and gain momentum. And I'd like some other people to talk a little bit about what they've done to do that. And I'll start out. I re-cleaned the office area after a couple months and started doing what Autonomy said to do.
I was just going to add, if you're feeling like a little unmotivated or a little procrastinatic, then clean something is a really good thing to get a little win under your belt. A little win can be a little wind that gets your sails going, and you can start increasing from there, or write a note to yourself. Like, just sometimes getting over that creative block is about doing something creative that's not for something, but just to get it out there. And sometimes that'll start the momentum off.
Adrian, not to hijack this section, but can I just ask Paul if he has shared that Kickstarter link as well somewhere?
Not a problem. It is in Plug Your Work.
Okay, great, thanks.
If you go down into there, he's down a little bit because some other people have plugged their stuff since. But he's in that Plug Your Work. I find that amazingly valuable, just to also get the idea that, hey, there are other people doing stuff, why don't you at least take another step toward your goal? And if you don't have one, goals will come in. I mean, that will be something else. The other thing is that I find is Monday morning after Grand Theft World, I feel a little bit unmotivated because of the scope of what's going on, and I'm just a one-person guy here in Indianapolis. And so instead of thinking about those, I write down, what do I need to do next?
Adrian, but it's a comedy show. You're taking it too seriously.
Oh, I know, but it affects me because I see it in the people around me. I'm a very connected person with a lot of people in the community.
Yeah.
And it affects me that way.
But coming back to your question, Adrian,
Yeah.
when I saw that slide, I was very happy to see turn off all distractions, unsubscribe from distractions. So I already closed my social media a few years ago and unsubscribed from Netflix, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And that's really, I just choose, something that I never thought I would do in my life is stop watching sports. Like I used to be an avid South African sports fan and follow whatever sports they're doing, but now I'm like, I couldn't care any less, because it's just so empty and meaningless. So now I choose to invest my time elsewhere. And Richard always talks about investing in yourself and showing up for yourself. So yeah, this is a very nice reminder, this slide. Keep moving forward towards your goal. You're going to fall down the whole time, but well, hopefully not. But like you said last night, failing is a good thing, because you're learning and you're honing your skills and you're constantly improving, the incremental improvements. And if you're nothing but persistent, you're going to succeed. And just the last point, if you don't have goals, okay, well it says that's in a future lecture, but
Yep.
yeah, that's
Yeah, you'll get them once the distractions are gone, and that's hard. I learned years before autonomy you have to shut off the distractions. So when I went into my church office, there's nothing there but a pad of paper in the morning and a couple books for translation and a pen and a pad. And after 2 hours of that, I have some pretty good ideas about what I need to do to get to the presentation or to get to the other things that need to be done. Computers can help. Computers can hurt. I took off my watch January because it would always give me these little buzzes of reminders or things to distract me.
Yeah, on the computers can hurt issue, I'm living that also. I've stepped away from doing video editing for about a year and a half ish, because there was way too much bad news.
Yeah.
Also, it was difficult for me to work, but yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
Sure. And there's a power in doing the next thing that you have to do and getting a little win. I didn't see who was talking about doing something and getting that win down. It gives you the same dopamine hit as you getting likes on your little social media. Get a little win, clean your room, get the computer organized, go through your email, shut off all the people that you don't want to listen to. And there you get your dopamine hit, and you don't even have to play a game or spend any time watching a commercial or something. And doing the next thing is kind of important. And I want to share a little bit of an interview that I had with somebody, and they said, I just keep thinking that, well, what's, in the next 5 years, this is going to happen. So do I start doing this, or do I stop doing that, or all these things? And I said, well, I'm going to tell you a little story about Dr. Luther, who they asked him, it was apocalyptic times, and they asked him, well, what would you do tomorrow if you knew the day after that the world would end? And he said, I'd plant apple trees. And they said, oh, that's very hopeful, because apple trees will take a long time. Why would you do that? And he said, because that's what my wife needs done tomorrow. I need to plant the apple trees. It's planned. It's something that needs to be done. The point of the story is not very religious, but it is that you have things to do. There are things and people you have to do, even yourself. Treat yourself better than saying, I don't have something to do. And that'll get you a win and get you unstuck at least for an hour or two. And that's mostly what I need. I don't know about anybody else. Anybody else want to tell them their secret to getting going?
I'll jump in. For sure, one of the things that when I was thinking about what to say about the slide, the first thing I noted down that I did only recently in this last maybe 6 or 7 months is I reclaimed my mornings by waking up earlier, and this has had a profound impact on my life. I was just saying to my wife earlier today how different I feel now on a day-to-day basis, how more robust I am emotionally, how my energy is leveled out. I'm more optimistic, despite being aware of things that are going on. It's a case of I have the energy to choose to be optimistic. And the way that I did that was I made this effort to get out of bed at 6 a.m. and then go and do some exercise. And I had a lot of conversations and a lot of different strategies and options, but in the end I had to sign up for a local gym that I have to cycle to. And I get up and I eat some breakfast and I get on the bike and I cycle 10 minutes down the road to the gym, and I go in there and I just do something. It doesn't have to be the best workout, because my thing in the past was like analysis paralysis. I want the perfect routine. I want the most effective routine. I want to know how many seconds I do each thing, and just get through the door and do something and then get out of there, right? And then by the time I've got home and done all that, that's starting my day with a win. I feel like that is my work done for the day, and anything else is a bonus, because I've done the thing that keeps me healthy, keeps me sane, keeps me energetic, makes me feel better, keeps my mood leveled out. And that is, I see that as the important work. And then, then I get home and have a shower and log on and do whatever work I have to do. And the rest of it is a little bit easier because I've done that hard thing in the first hour and a half of the day. And to me, that's been a life changer. And I do that probably 5 mornings out of the week. So that's what I would say worked for me, at least. I know it doesn't suit everybody, but it changed my life. And then as for, if you don't have goals, I was the same, and I still am to some extent. Keep showing up, keep taking in the material, keep listening to other people and their challenges and projects and goals and strategies and progress. And sooner or later, ideas come and go, and sooner or later something will stick and something will kind of emerge that is your thing and the thing you want to do. And you might even have to try something else for a while and then realize, okay, that's not the thing. But in the process of turning up and trying that thing, you'll learn other things that unlock the thing you actually want to do. So I would just say, if people are watching this and they don't have the goals, it's keep showing up, keep taking in the signal and the material. For us here in Autonomy, it's watching the lectures and showing up to the various events that are on offer. But for people outside of Autonomy, if anyone's listening to this, then it's taking that good, nutritious information, the information and the knowledge that kind of motivates you and keeps you interested, and don't be hooked on the doom of everything and the bad news, and that stuff is there. It's always going to be there. Most of it's out of your control anyway. Try and find the uplifting, the hopeful. try and find the voices of encouragement, the information sources that are empowering, that make you want to get up and go and engage with life, and spend a bit more time on them and keep listening to them. And the goals and the projects and the ideas will eventually come.
Yeah, I do the gym too. And I had a personal trainer who said, how do you do this? Because I was his first customer in the morning. He said, how do you do this in the morning? And I say, I get up and I lie to myself. I say, oh, I'm just gonna walk into the gym and just say, oh, let's just do stretching today. Or, oh, I'm going to walk into the gym and I say, okay, we're done for the day. I showed up. I'm going to go into the steam room and have a shower. But then when I get there, I say, well, I should do warm-ups, at least. and then just, it slowly builds that up. I think a lot of times I'm a completist. And if I think, oh, I'm not going to get it all done, I end up stop doing it. So yeah, just start a little bit. Get that first little dopamine rush from anything, getting out of bed, making the bed, getting out of the house, or if you have to read the newspaper first, or I wouldn't suggest that, but that's just do something for yourself that's going to make you feel better.
I should add as well, this whole journey for me with where I'm at now began with doing 10-minute walks. I was doing no exercise. I was smoking cigarettes. I was drinking too many nights a week. And then somebody told me about 10-minute walks. Do them after a meal. They showed me this video of this buff guy, and he's like, after every meal, I go out, I do 10 minutes walk. I walk 5 minutes down the road, and I turn around and I come back, And I'm like, okay, I can do. I can't. It's summertime. The summer's out here, and
right.
I can't like excuse my way out of 10-minute walk. Yeah. So I started doing them, and then it just snowballed literally from that point onwards up to, like I said, 5 mornings a week, getting up, and now it's winter, so it's dark in the morning, so I'm on my bike cycling in the dark to the gym. Yeah. And that's come from 10-minute walks.
Yeah. Excellent. Anybody else want to talk about the slide a little bit and what you've been doing to get moving?
Adrian, just one more thing about something that Richard said last night, which I really liked, was the fact that when he thinks about cleaning his office, for instance, and he's maybe putting it off or whatever, or it's an uncomfortable feeling, then he thinks, okay, well, screw you, brain, I'm gonna go clean out the garage or the shed or the factory or whatever. And it kind of hardens his brain, if I, paraphrasing correctly, but reminds me of, that's very David Goggins-like. And so that's something that I'm going to try and, do myself. If there's any uncomfortableness in anything that I'm planning, then I'm just going to say, screw you, brain, I'm going to go to the next level and see how that goes.
After the first win, Nick probably backed me up on that. I go ahead and I learned from somebody, you got to eat the frog every day. That I pick out the hardest thing that I've got to do. I've got to make this call. I've got to plan for this thing that I really don't want to do. I've got to email somebody. I've got to actually write a letter saying that, we're not going to be meeting anymore, whatever the hardest thing is. So after that first win or the first couple wins, I go ahead and do the hardest thing I can think of the day. And then the rest of the day is beautiful. Because you want to do the rest of the day after that. But it takes a challenge to do it. And sometimes I have to write it down the night before. You are going to do this. And, that's been a long time. That was even before Autonomy 5 that I was eating frogs. So, but
it comes down to choice, your freedom, knowing that it's an option and you can choose differently, for how you've been living your life in the past. So,
right.
And And just on what Nick was saying there, you know, small little incremental changes, you know, towards a bigger goal can snowball. You know, I started similar to Nick, and I changed my life because I lost 30 kilograms, which I don't know, is that what's the ratio?
Well, it's about 80 pounds.
Oh yeah, okay. So
80
and
pounds.
just by doing small little things every day and changing diet and changing mindset and changing exercise routines, yeah, and that's transformed my life as well. So yeah, small things can add up very quickly.
Right, and I've lost, and I similarly to losing weight. Yeah, I've lost about 40 pounds in the last 3-4 months, just by changing. What it took was not driving anywhere. I don't drive to my office anymore. I don't drive to my quote jobs, and every day I have to walk somewhere first thing. I don't allow myself to just sit in the house. But that's a small change, but it changes how you do things, and that's all you need. 1% change becomes 100% in 100 days. So don't give up there. I have one more slide that I really want everybody, because it's made an option for us to kind of, in the next 10 weeks, read this book. Weapons of Mass Instruction. It will change the way not only you look at your past, but what you can do. And I read it, I went out and got it in season 5 because I just was fascinated by the idea that this person was a master teacher by all accounts and had to step away from the classroom and the system. And so, while it's not for public distribution, download it or find it wherever you can. I got mine from Abe Books a couple years ago. I know it's connected with Amazon. I know I'm supporting the enemy, but the book is fantastic. And it's a great read as well. Nick, did you just pick that up off your shelf?
I just grabbed it because I remembered that I marked out a couple of spots in this book and highlighted them.
Yeah, can you share one of the highlights? That would be great.
Okay, this is a really short and sweet, to the point, punchy little quote. Genius is as common as dirt.
Yes, absolutely. Right. And that's when I realized that what Richard was doing, to give him some kudos here, is giving people a first-class classical education with them not having to learn a language and with them not having to go through 4 years of semi-torture by professors. Because when you're young, you don't appreciate it.
And another good quote, just another quick one. Yeah. We have been taught, that is, schooled, to think success is synonymous with, or at least dependent upon, schooling. But historically, that isn't true in either an intellectual or a financial sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've met people with PhDs from Chicago University and from East Coast universities, and they were less knowledgeable and less willing to think outside the box of what they learned than the people here in Autonomy, just the average person. And you don't need to apologize for not going to an Ivy League school or to any school. What you learn is, if you want to be a learner and continue to learn, you will have a top-notch education. And so read Weapons of Mass Instruction. It really fired me up in season 5 and got me thinking about learning and relearning. And Michael Nimitz has shown up, and I wanted him to talk about AUTONOTOASTers. So Michael, you can give your pitch now for public speaking.
All right. Well, first of all, my apologies. I thought I was going to make it through the week without the time change blowing something up for me, but unfortunately this was it. So I'm an hour late, and my apologies for that. Secondly, Gatto's book, and pretty much all of his books are just full of bombshells of information and knowledge. I would say that certainly one of the things that I got from that book, or from one of the books, I'm not sure if it's that Weapons of Mass Destruction, was just the idea of reading. That how much reading does for your brain. It's like exercising your brain, reading. And so doing reading on a regular basis is exercising these parts of your anatomy that you really need to have functioning for you. And certainly reading is one of those. And that's one of the things that I got from that book. And I think it's so incredibly valuable. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, I've probably read more books than, I'm just constantly reading books because I know it's helping me. But with that said, reading is one of the literacies. Certainly speaking and writing are some of the other literacies, active literacies, I think, as some people describe it, that also make your brain work better and challenge you to create the circumstance that you can communicate to other people valuable things about yourself, things about other people, being able to give people feedback, being able to represent yourself well and help other people. That's essentially what we're trying to do with the AUTONOTOASTers, is give people the opportunity to, come off the mute button and speak about yourself and represent yourself better. It's certainly a low pressure environment, but we do create the circumstance that we can, that you can give an official speech or give an official presentation and do it in a way that you can practice that, so there's all kinds of things that if you've got an idea of something that you want to pitch to other people, AUTONOTOASTers is a great place to do that, because you're going to get people that are good at listening, which is, I guess, another thing that it gives you practice on doing, is listening to other people and then, critically listening and looking for the things that, hit and the things that may not hit, and being able to see those things and how it's done with other people so that, you get better at it. And I'm telling you, that's one of the best things about being in autonomy is having Richard as an example. When you see excellence, you have that ability to gauge where you're at versus where they're at, and it's like, okay, I'm not doing as, I know I can do better. And having that kind of a metric to measure yourself against is also something that you can utilize and then practice, and then obviously over time see how you get better. And looking at some of the people that are here, I know Jerry is one that I've witnessed him grow, and he's getting better and better and better. And as I see him get better at everything that he's doing, it inspires me to get better and better. And, Jerry's just one example. There's many. And, that's the beautiful thing.
The idea of being able to do positive criticism, I hate that word, but to get that feedback. For instance, ever since I started 30 years ago, either tape my sermons, my speeches, and then once a month I pick one out and go over it like a teacher of the class. And that I've met so many in my profession that don't do that ever, and they fall into bad habits. They fall into, ways that don't engage people anymore. They fall into, this pattern. And this idea that you can go back and go ahead and go over it, you have to learn how to do that, because you have to separate yourself. I know so many people that, I can't listen to my own recorded voice. It just bothers me. Or I don't like how I look, so I can't even take that. To actually public speak, you have to get over that. And to practice your presence and things like that, yeah, it's going to take some criticism. And by the way, you will fail and you will make mistakes. And that's okay. Here at Autonomy or Autotoaster, got it wrong. Toastmasters for autonomy students, that's the place to do it in a safe place. And so if you're wondering how you look to other people or how you present yourself to other people, just drop in sometime and get surrounded by the people who do this often. It's very helpful.
Absolutely.
I have a story.
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go.
Well, I was just going to say that I was just going to say, all of us have, valuable information to get out,
Right.
and, all of us have that opportunity to kind of affect other people. And that's definitely one of the things that I have to say about Autonatoasters is I've witnessed so many great presentations on logic and, history and, just a bevy of different topics, finance, investment, and that's another thing that gives me a beneficial kind of leg up, is that I know where to go because I know all these people that know all these things. It's just a wonderful thing.
Right. That's
Just on a quick personal story, I took a Toastmasters class the year my brother was getting married, because I was the best man and had to do the speech. And I can say that it helps out a lot. It's like any martial art. It reduces it lengthens the amount of time that you have to think when you're talking. So while you're speaking, you find some phrase that you sort of hide behind, and you've got your next phrase already ready to go. It helps a lot. It's a muscle. You figure out a little bit how to not and it's interesting. It helps to practice.
absolutely. And once again, none of that stuff comes easy the first time you do it. So what? Go ahead, get a win by just showing up and just by speaking publicly. I've had over 40 years experience starting in high school and the speech team or the forensic team, whatever it is. And yeah, there's times when, I had a 2-minute speech on something and spoke for 20 seconds. Didn't do really well in that contest, but you learn, and you learn how to organize, and you learn how to get catchphrases, and you learn how to think a little quicker on your feet. And that'll serve you well in anything you do, because some bosses will be pokers, and some will, kind of put you in your place. But if you're able to at least think while they're doing it of an answer, you won't be so challenged or so upset or angry. It has a lot of different facets to it so that you can do that. Well, we have gone a good amount of time, and so I'm going to close out the episode. We'll keep the room open for a little bit longer if you'd like, but that's it for Do It Live Autonomy Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Stefano. He was awesome as the co-host and getting all those up for us. Thanks, Mike and Paul, and join us next week. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast if you're on YouTube. And if you're interested in autonomy, go to getautonomy.info and tell them that Adrian and Stefano sent you.
Hooray!
Hooray. We're going to play the outro here.
Ready, set, go.